It's time to go Between the Lines, an award-winning news program focusing on local, state, and national issues. Now, here's your Between the Lines host, News Director Greg Stensland.
And welcome to this Monday, March 11th edition of Between the Lines. It's unbelievable when you look at the forecast for the rest of the week. Spring is right around the corner, just a few days away, a week away, for the first official day of spring. We're going to talk with National Weather Service meteorologist Rebecca Rogers on the next segment of the show. How high can the temperature go this week? We'll ask Rebecca Rogers on the next segment. It's going to be in the 50s. There's probably going to be a little bit of rain. How much rain, we'll find out on the next segment of the program. Fond du Lac School Board meets this evening. Superintendent Dr. Jim Siebert will join us shortly after the bottom of the hour. It was tough sledding early Sunday morning following a snowfall that dumped between 1 and 3 inches of snow in the area, and there were a lot of mostly minor traffic crashes on area roads. Fond du Lac County Sheriff's Captain Bill Todick will join us on the final segment of the show. April 2nd, voters will go to the polls to elect individuals to various offices. There are contested races for town and city offices and school boards. There are a couple of referendums on the ballot. There's a race for Fond du Lac City Council, and over the course of the next 3 days, we will be interviewing the 6 candidates who are running for the open seats on Fond du Lac City Council. Joining us in the studio on the first segment of the program this morning, challenger Jim Lorigan. Good morning, Jim.
Good morning.
Pleasure having you on the program. And incumbent City Council member Brian Kolstad. Good morning, Brian.
Good morning.
Pleasure having both of you on the program. Let's start by having both of you tell the listeners a little bit about yourself. And Jim, we'll start with you. The name sounds familiar, and that's because your mother served on the city council for a number of years, correct?
At the university here, and then I went to Stevens Point.
When did you graduate from Fond du Lac High School?
That would be 2009.
Okay. That's not too long ago.
Yeah, that'll be 10-year anniversary coming up this year already.
Yeah? Time flies. All right. And what do you do in Fond du Lac?
I actually work in Oshkosh right now. I work for Quill Creative. It's a branding and advertising agency, and I work for them.
All right. And so your mom had a big influence on you in terms of getting into local government?
Yes. Well, I saw what she did, and I watched her, because you can watch online. So I watched a lot of her meetings with my dad and would have him in the background, and got to hear a lot of the different things going on, and that got me interested, got me involved. And right when I came back into Fond du Lac, which I believe would have been early last April, first thing I did was I got on the downtown placemaking committee to try and get some ideas to help improve our downtown.
All right. Brian Kolstad. Brian, tell the listeners about yourself. You've been on the city council for how long?
I've been on for 4 years.
So this would be your
my third term and third and final term if I'm elected. So
right, and then you'd have to sit out at least one term, and then you could run again.
Yes, that's a possibility.
All right.
And I'm also on the county board. I've been on the county board for 3 years as well. And basically, serving the community has been kind of my passion for the last 15 years since coming back from grad school. So it's in various capacities. My wife Mel and I have been on various committees and boards, creating things like Tour the Town, Gallery Walk, which is now Gallery Night, Bar Camp, which is now Idea Camp, and other activities, things that have improved our downtown and our city in general. She actually encouraged me, my wife Mel actually encouraged me to look into joining the city council, and I've enjoyed it ever since.
All right. Why are you running for a third term?
I feel that I've been doing a decent job as a city council member. I hope the public sees it that way. I think I bring a fair and unbiased viewpoint to the council, or to anything that I do in general, and basically treating every action with an open mind. We've talked about issues that have come up, and I sometimes I'll have an opinion about something, but I always reserve a little bit of space for hearing something from the public that might change my mind on something. So I usually, very rarely do I commit to a vote until I actually hear everything and we're ready to vote at the council.
All right. Have you been able to balance serving on the city council and the county board?
Absolutely.
Has that?
There are various areas where they interact, but for the most part they're fairly separate. The issues that concern the city are slightly different than what concerns the county. There are areas where it overlaps, and I make it a point to keep my city cap on when I'm on the city council and my county cap on when I'm on the county board.
All right. We were talking before we went on the air. We were talking about the grand opening of the Retlaw Hotel, at least partially, with their new restaurant, and we wish them the best of luck. And we know that the City Council approved some tax incremental financing districts to help get those projects going. Your thoughts just in general on what the city has done to try to enhance what's going on downtown, and if you're reelected, what should the city, what more can the city be doing? I know there was discussion at one point about an indoor market downtown in one of the buildings, and that kind of has, I don't know if it's stalled, but we certainly haven't heard a lot more discussion about that.
That's something that if we find the right space for it and the right community group to run that, that's something that we definitely would want to look into. The way I see it, the city itself cannot create these initiatives. It has to be a joint effort between the private and the city and the county to make things happen. But we can encourage that through incentives like TID financing and other actions that we can take. But really, nothing would be accomplished if we didn't have the private investment from groups like the Hotel Retlaw and other businesses that are looking to improve our downtown. I think one of the main things that we need to do is really build up the density and diversity of not only people but also businesses in our downtown. That's where we'll really see the benefits of having a thriving downtown. The more people you have downtown, the more commerce there will be, the more it encourages businesses to move in. So it's kind of a one step up type thing where you want people to move into the area, you want businesses to move into the area. You need both of those to go hand in hand. One thing I would definitely like to see is a downtown grocery store, if not a market, something where people can buy fresh fruits and vegetables in our downtown. It's kind of a food desert as it is right now. But
well, there's the farmers market every Saturday.
Market, that's always a good thing. But during the winter,
there used to be a grocery store, and now it's called Hamilton Park.
Exactly.
So, Jim Morgan.
Yes.
What are your thoughts on what's going on downtown, and what more, if you are elected to the city council, what more would you like to see the city do?
Yes. So I would like to point out right away that the city is doing a pretty good job right now. Joe Moore gave his state, I can't remember exactly what it's called, but
State of the City address.
State of the City address, and he brought up that just in the past couple of years we've had about 30 new businesses come in downtown, and that is a very good start. I think the Hotel Retlaw is going to bring a lot in, and I'm glad that they used TIF financing to help fund that project. And then a lot of it from there is creating a good quality of place, making our downtown somewhere attractive that people want to come to. And I think one thing that we can really help with that is creating more programming downtown. Different things events happening downtown, like you mentioned, the farmers market. Creating different weekly events that bring people downtown. We can have food trucks and drive commerce that way. And as I mentioned, I was on the downtown placemaking committee right when I moved back, and that's why they started adding a lot more programming to Hamilton Park, as you had mentioned. And I think that is something that we definitely need to continue. I'm very excited about some of the different places that are opening up. I saw we have another restaurant that's opening up downtown. And I think we're on the right track, and we just need to keep partnering with the right people, partnering with the Downtown Fond du Lac Partnership and with Envision, and it takes a lot of different partnerships that keep us moving in the right direction.
All right. Let me ask you this. We just recently another shooting incident in Fond du Lac where a drug deal, I'm not sure of all the circumstances surrounding it, but it was drug related according to police, and a guy shot somebody in the leg. We had a fatal shooting a little more than a year ago off Forest Avenue in a parking lot across from a bar. We had I think one year we had multiple shooting incidents. A lot of them were drug related. What do you, since moving back to town, and when you were growing up in Fond du Lac, Jim, let me ask you this: do you feel safe, or do you get a sense? How do you feel about your safety, generally speaking, in the city of Fond du Lac?
I do feel safe in Fond du Lac. I do think Fond du Lac is a fantastic place to live overall. I think that those were mostly isolated incidences, but the drug problems in Fond du Lac are on the rise. I know later this week I'm meeting with both Chief O'Leary from the fire department, and then I'm meeting with Chief Bill Lamb on Wednesday to talk about how, as City Council, what can we do to best support our fire and police department. And I think working with the police department and coming up with solutions for that is important for Fond du Lac.
All right. Brian, what about you? You hear about this in the news. You meet with the chief on a regular basis at every council meeting.
And I believe the chief has actually said at one point that there isn't a street in Fond du Lac that you couldn't walk down and not feel safe. And I agree with it. I'm not sure if that's exactly what he said, but I would make that statement that you can walk down any street in Fond du Lac and feel safe. The instances where there have been violence have all been where people have known the victim has known the assailant, and yes, drugs are a concern. That's something we're definitely going to have to keep an eye on, and that's a problem that goes beyond even law enforcement. They say you can't arrest your way out of the drug problem. It takes a lot of community involvement to address the issue and make the community safer.
If you are re-elected, Brian Kolstad, what would your top priority be?
Continuing economic development. That's always been my push, but that encompasses quite a bit. And it involves retaining, attracting, and developing our workforce, because you can't attract businesses if you don't have that workforce. So in that sense, having a thriving downtown that people want to be a part of, having activities, having good parks, having a bike and pedestrian trail that people can take advantage of. These are all important things that especially the younger generations are looking for when they're looking for a place to live. And if we can make Fond du Lac more attractive for those new workers to move here, that's all the better. And we can grow our businesses and bring more business to the community and grow in general.
All right, Jim Lorigan, what about you? What would your top priority be if you are elected to the Fond du Lac City Council?
Well, Greg, we actually touched on a lot of what my top priorities are. I feel like you went on my Facebook page and saw my 3 pillars that I'm running on. So the one that I ran on was working with the chief and fire department and keeping strong with downtown revitalization. And then my third point is bringing in young skilled workers to Fond du Lac and working with the community partners that we have in place and making sure that we stay strong with those efforts.
All right. I'll get you both out on this, give you an opportunity to tell the listeners why, when they go to the polls on April 2nd, they should cast their ballot for you. Jim, start with you.
Yes, when you go to the polls April 2nd, make sure you vote for Jim Lorgan, because I am dedicated to the city. I came back after college, and as I said before, I want to work with our police and fire department, keep strong with downtown revitalization, and I want to bring in young skilled workers to Fond du Lac because I feel that is key to keeping Fond du Lac on a strong path toward the future.
All right. And Brian Kolstad, what about you? Why should voters cast their ballot for you?
Really, I'm here to represent you, everyone in the city of Fond du Lac. I'm always approachable. I answer emails and phone calls, and I listen. I actually listen, and I take all comments to heart when it comes time to vote on issues that face the council.
All right. Running for Fond du Lac City Council in the April 2nd election today, tomorrow, and Wednesday, we'll be talking with the candidates, Jim Lorigan and Brian Kolstead. We greatly appreciate both of you joining us on the program, and best of luck to both of you on April 2nd.
Thank
Thanks
you,
for
Greg.
having us.